Okay, let's jump right in. Have you ever really thought about what's holding our world together? It's not concrete or steel, nope. It's something you can't even see, electricity. And the people who command it, the electrical engineers, are quietly building our future right now. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the 5 massive frontiers they're exploring as we speak. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? That's the real magic of electrical engineering. It's this incredible craft of taking something totally invisible, the flow of electrons, a signal flying through the air, and turning it into the engine that runs pretty much everything. It's about taming the unseen to create the world you see and touch every single day. When someone gets into this field, it's not just a job. It's like you're joining this incredible family tree. You become part of a direct line of inventors and explorers, these world builders who took weird ideas from physics books and somehow turned them into power grids or figured out how to make a rock, silicon, think. So that's the big question, right? If the last generation gave us things like the light bulb and the internet, small stuff, what's next? What new territories are today's world builders charting? Well, let me tell you, the field is absolutely on fire right now. First up, we're talking about a complete teardown and rebuild of how our entire planet gets its energy. And I'm not just talking about putting a few solar panels on a roof. This is a fundamental shift, moving away from old, clunky power plants to a smarter, cleaner system that can actually think for itself. So how do you even do that? Well, it all comes down to some seriously cool tech. You have these things called converters and inverters. The easiest way to think of them is like universal translators for electricity. They take the messy, unpredictable power from the sun and the wind and turn it into the clean, stable electricity all your stuff needs. And engineers are now making these translators so smart, they can see problems coming and react in milliseconds, turning our old, dumb grid into a living, breathing ecosystem. All right, let's motor on to frontier number 2, the electric revolution. And when I say that, please don't just think of cars. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about everything that moves. Electric scooters, delivery drones, city buses, heck, even the very first electric airplanes. This is a total reinvention of getting from point A to point B. But, and this is a big but, making all this happen is just ridiculously hard. You need motors that are so efficient they barely waste a single drop of energy. You have to figure out how to stop tiny, powerful things from melting. And, of course, the big one, batteries. We need them to be way more powerful, but also smaller and lighter. The name of the game is squeezing an impossible amount of power into a ridiculously small space. It's basically engineering miracles centimeter by centimeter. Okay, so we've gone from the physical world of motors and batteries, and now we're jumping into the completely invisible world of communication. With 5G, and especially with 6G coming up, we're pushing into what engineers call the high-frequency wild. This is truly the Wild West of wireless tech. I love this quote. It captures the vibe perfectly. Because up at these crazy high frequencies, the rules of physics get weird. Signals start doing things you don't expect. So just getting a system to work reliably is this massive intellectual battle. It's like wrestling lightning with a calculator. To win that battle, engineers are inventing a whole new toolkit. We're talking antennas so small they're built right onto the computer chip itself, allowing them to create these arrays that can steer beams of data through the air like a laser pointer. But all of this creates a constant war for something called signal integrity, which is basically just a fight to keep that signal pure so your data actually arrives in one piece. Now, as our world gets more connected, it's also getting a whole lot smarter. And that brings us to a huge one, frontier number 4. We're finally giving a brain to the machine itself. For a long time, AI had to live in these giant data centers. Not anymore. We're shrinking it down and cramming it right inside the tiny little chips that run everything. And what does that mean for you and me? It means a world where devices can actually think for themselves. You get smart sensors that don't just see data, they understand it. You get robots that can react instantly to what's happening around them. It allows for split-second decisions to be made right there, on the spot, without having to phone home to the cloud. But here's the catch. A smarter, more connected world is also a much more vulnerable one. Every single thing we connect, your car, the power grid, you name it, becomes a new doorway, a new potential weak spot where things can go wrong. And that leads us to our 5th and final frontier,
defending our digital infrastructure. We're talking about cybersecurity, but for the things that really, really matter. As our power grid runs more and more on software, it gets way more efficient, but it also becomes a much juicier target for attackers. So here's the thing. A modern power engineer has to be a cybersecurity expert now. Their defense toolkit is just as important as their electrical one. They're using advanced cryptography to make things unhackable, using AI to spot weird behavior before it becomes a disaster, and building the whole system to be fault-tolerant, which is a fancy way of saying it's designed to take a punch and keep on running. Which brings us right back to where we started. It doesn't matter if they're designing a smarter grid, building an electric drone, or defending our infrastructure from attack. The identity is the same. At their core, the modern electrical engineer is still an inventor, an explorer, and a world builder.
So these 5 areas, clean energy, electric mobility, high-speed communication, embedded AI, and cybersecurity, they aren't separate trends. They're all woven together. They are all pushing us towards a future that is going to be more sustainable, more intelligent, and more connected than we can even imagine. So there you have it. That's the map of the new world being built right now. And look, each one of these 5 frontiers is its own deep, fascinating universe, full of incredible challenges and breathtaking innovations. So the only question left is, which one do you want to dive into next?